I would like to introduce the moderator of our panel, who will introduce our incredible power-packed panel. So without further ado, Juliana Broste is known as Jules. She is a one-woman show. You've probably seen her on the promos for the NAB show, running around, showing you how to do things, showing you how to get on the monorail, how to pack your bag. She's always in hot pink, so you can always find her wherever she is. She is a 12 times Heartland Emmy Award-winning travel journalist and filmmaker and host and vlogger, also known as an amazing content creator. And I'm just so thrilled that she took some time out because I know she has many obligations on the show floor, but I thought she'd be the perfect moderator for this panel. So I'll ask her to come up with our panelists and sit in these chairs, and then she'll introduce the rest. Thank you.
Mic check. Oh, there we go. Hi. Amy, that was the kindest introduction, and it's so nice to be here at your event. What a wonderful group of people we have here. We're all friends now, right? BFF? Amanda, you got us all so connected, and we're just going to keep going. We've got 4 amazing women here who represent a lot of experience from all different sectors of our industry. And so I'm excited to let us dive into the conversation and really learn more about where we are headed. So I'm gonna, you know what, I could never do justice to introduce each, so I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves as we go down the row. Sitting next to me is my colleague, Darlie.
Hi. Yay. So Darlie Newman, I host and produce an Emmy Award-winning series on PBS. Travels with Darlie. I used to do a show called Equitrekking, and it's on streaming. And I go all around the world covering food, culture, adventure, and history, and traveling with locals. And I love it. It's fun. A lot of work, but it's great.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Rossmark. I'm the CEO and founder of Women in Drones. We're a global platform for women that are in the drone industry. So if you need to contact someone in another country, just let me know and we can connect you.
And I'm Margaret Craig. I'm the CEO of a software company called Signiant. We make software that moves large media files around and then manages various other processes for media. And I'll note for all of you that I'm an electrical engineer by training. So that's the path that I came up through and have always worked in the media space.
And my name again is Amanda Sapp. I'm the general manager of Amazing 102.5 FM, powered by Bread of Life, Inc. We are a low-power community radio station located in the center of downtown Houston, the metropolitan area, which is in Midtown. And we are there to provide the resources and information that Bread of Life has to offer that impacts community.
Thanks for the great intro. Now, we just talked about what brings us joy. Maybe we'll start with you, Amanda, and we'll go down the row this way. I want to hear one thing that your company is excited about this year and what brings you joy about doing what you do.
Absolutely. We at Bread of Life Inc. are tapping into the healthcare space and digital equity space. And what that means is through the radio station, we are providing the information that people in underserved community need to help them. Maybe it's understanding Medicare, or maybe it's finding out how to get resources through internet connectivity, providing devices. So we're excited about tapping into the healthcare space and making sure that our programming offers that type of information. And then also too, we developed a program called Tech Savvy Seniors HOU, where we help our seniors understand the basics of their device, and, which is like, you know, so anyone 65 years of age or older, they might say, get me on Facebook. Can you turn my phone up? What is this spam likely? So we have digital navigators that help them understand how to navigate through that. So I'm excited about what we're doing to bridge the gap with digital equity and also for our seniors.
That is so needed. Thank you so much. That's so cool. How about you, Margaret? What are you excited about this year, your company, and what makes you happy to do what you're doing?
Well, I just love NAB. So I've possibly been coming to NAB since before some of you were born. But I just love the experience and the collegiality and community of our industry. So for me, it was kind of hard to be away for a couple years and doing this remotely. So I just really love being back here in person. And my company is a fast-growing company that has a lot of exciting technology to show to our customers. So being able to do that in person is just thrilling for me.
Great answer. I know, it's so nice to be back in person. Sharon, how about you?
I'm excited about two things, actually. We're working with a film company out of St. Louis, and this is their first time producing a documentary, and it's about women in the drone industry. Drones is the fastest growing sector within aviation, and we've decided, Linda, one of my colleagues here, is a drone pilot here in Las Vegas, so if you're here in Las Vegas and you need a photographer, drone pilot, look Linda up, Linda Q Photography. But we're very excited about the documentary because everyone knows about the Wright brothers, correct? In terms of aviation history. No one knows about the other people, especially the women that might have been involved and that were involved, including the Wright brothers' sister, who was a part of the process, but no one knows. So we're capturing the stories of modern day hidden figures in this sector of aviation. And so we're very excited about, thank you. We're very excited about putting out the docuseries starting later this year. And then the second thing is that we're also excited about our 7th annual Global Awards program where we recognize women from around the globe that are in this industry. And we're doing this because when the history of this sector of aviation is written, we want them to know that women were actively involved in the early days of this sector of aviation.
Wow, that's incredible. Definitely need to shine light in that area. And Darlie, you too, you shine a lot of light around the world. Tell us about what you're excited about this year.
So I'm actually doing a lot on history now as well, which I think is really exciting. I'm doing a project called Revolutionary Road Trips where I share untold stories related to the American Revolution. And I think it's really interesting because, and it's stories about women who were involved and Native Americans, African Americans, but I think it's a really great project because so many people think that history is esoteric, like it doesn't relate to them, but it really does. So I'm just interested to bring new topics to life and make them interesting and fun for people. And they want to, I like getting people excited about learning, so I'm excited to continue to grow my series as we, do all these new projects. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's a lot of work to really bring history to life, but you're the girl to do it. Now, we got to spend some time with Susan this morning and talk about negotiation. To get to where these women are, it doesn't come overnight, right? When in your career, is there a time or a memory that you can think of that negotiation really played an important part to getting the job you wanted, to getting a project to go your way, to making it all work? Maybe we can start with, Sharon, do you want to start?
A couple of things come to mind, but I'll start with the main one, which is being okay with no. Because I take it as not no, but just not now. And then I come back to what would it take, or to find out more about the situation, the individual, the scenario, to find out if not now, what can I learn from this situation, and then apply it and get more or better the next time.
I love that. Amanda, do you want to say something?
Sure. I've got two, but I'll just give you one really quickly. When I mentioned to you guys about me coming to the NAB conference last year, I was new as becoming general manager. To which, let me just say, that wasn't necessarily easy. However, I had learned all of the positions that radio offered. I learned how to be talent. I learned how to work the board. I learned how to do the visuals, record my own visuals. I learned how to create reels. All of the things that a person needs to know about radio. I'd already taken steps on my own to figure that out with no one, because I'd lost on my team because we had new management, which was me. And it's just all the things, right? It was literally scratch, zero. So when I found out about this conference, I needed to share with them, why do I need to go? How much is it going to cost? And what's going to happen when I get here? And so that meant I needed to create spreadsheets. I needed to do research. So I negotiated me coming here and my job paying for it. Because who finna do that? I didn't have, what I thought I needed to have financially to do it. So I negotiated with my employer, which is Bread of Life, what I needed to do, how much it cost, who I could connect with, all of the people that I know, heard from past attendees who were going to be here, and that was something I was able to negotiate it. They paid for my trip here, they paid for my hotel, everything. And then now I'm here with you guys. So that was one
Awesome.
way of me having to learn things that I never knew how to do before. Google spreadsheet, Google Docs, all of the things, so I could come here. So that was what I negotiated. I hope that
that's
helps.
awesome. I love that that was really recent. And I think a lot of people are nodding their heads. Yeah, I had to do that too to get here, right? And good for you because it's paying off. So thanks for sharing that. How about you, Margaret? Any time negotiation played an important role in your career?
Yeah, so I certainly have negotiated a lot of business things over the years, but I thought a story I would share here is more about the times when you don't really need to negotiate hard. So I think a lot of times there's career advice saying everything is a negotiation, always go in hard on negotiating. But very early in my career, once my boss came to me and said, hey, here's kind of a problem person. I need you to take this person in your group and see if you can turn him around. So I said, okay, fine. And when I signed the paperwork for him to join my group, I saw that he made about 20% more than I did, which is kind of a yikes. But I didn't have to negotiate very hard. I went to my boss, put the two numbers in front of him, and said, is this really the message you want to send me? And that's all I had to do. I was working, he was a very good boss, and he took care of me. So I'll just put that out there as a little story to remember that don't always go in hard and heavy in negotiating. Sometimes people just need the information.
Ah, that's subtle.
Can I
like
just
that.
speak to what you just said about numbers? You mentioned it, and I think oftentimes, and I think I talked with you too about this, Darlie, but oftentimes we don't know the numbers, but we want to negotiate. What are you negotiating? So I can appreciate which is what you said about, you saw the numbers and your approach probably wasn't aggressive, but it was enough so that you had something in the back of your mind to go with. So I can appreciate that. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and just having the courage to just point this out. Hey, this is what the facts say, That was very smart. How about you, Darlie? Negotiations?
Well, I think touching on what we're talking about with numbers, always ask for more. And I like to tier things. Like, here's option A, B, C, D. And because then, you don't want to just give them one option, and you just don't want to. I find a lot of women apparently don't ask for enough, or, we don't. And if you know your value and you're passionate about it, people will see that. So it's really being convinced within yourself, and that whole manifestation, it is legitimately true. And I find that if you have that inner confidence and then you ask for, we're valuable, we are valuable people. We should be getting, the best we can. So I think that that's just, keeping that in mind as you do anything in life. This is why we're on this planet. We have a short amount of time. Let's take advantage, and let's know that, we're so valuable, all of us in this room. So let's get our value, people.
Yeah, and Darlie, can I ask you a little more detail? So you said you like to do tiers. What else can you ask for besides more money? Do you ask for other things?
Well, that's something to keep in mind too. I mean, oftentimes you can trade. There's trades that can happen. There's other value. Sometimes having people boost a project that you're doing can be super valuable as well. So thinking outside of the box is a great tip. And just thinking, how do I make whatever I'm doing, the job, the project, the best that it can be? I think that's just thinking differently about everything. And that's what everybody has to do nowadays anyway, because the climate of the world has changed so much. So many of us are doing our own things now. We have our own businesses and our own projects and our own freelance or whatever it is. And when you do that, you're an out-of-the-box thinker, and you have to just get creative.
Yeah, Darlie works so hard. Her show's everywhere, and she's producing it. You're wearing so many hats, and a lot of that change, don't you think, is technology too? It changes how you do things. Could you talk a little bit about how the tech trends? What tech trends are you seeing, and how is that affecting what you're doing every day?
The technology is changing so rapidly. I mean, I'm a big proponent of, if you can get your hands on something new, do it. And if you have to buy it, buy it. And just try to use it, because you know, you need to be at the forefront of everything. I've been on PBS for like 15 years now, but my shows are all on streaming in different places, but I'm constantly out there hustling to look for the new technology, look for the next streaming platform, talk to people that are doing, you know, learning about all the OTTs and everything else that's, you know, happening. And it's a wild west out there. But I find that if you, like I grabbed Insta360 cameras when they first came out and worked with them as a company to do 360 filming. And I took that 360 camera, I jumped off the Macau Tower in China as the world's highest bungee. I swam with sharks in Dubai. I did like crazy stuff. I dropped the camera when I did the world's highest climbing wall. I was like, what is happening? But it was like, that was something that was like cool to, you know, to do with this technology. And I was like, let me just do it because but I find also like just starting something, a lot of times we have something in mind that we want to do, but we're not doing it. And I listen to a lot of other motivational speakers and I read a lot and I'm seeing people saying like, just get started. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. But just get your stuff, just get out there, just get it going. So getting that new technology and taking hold of what you can is a great thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great example. Just being, you're not scared. You're just going to try it, pick it up, use it. And I love how you're using technology in your shows. And she's always innovating. It's constantly. It's never the same. It's never the same process.
Right back at you there, Jules.
And speaking about drones, they're constantly changing. I mean, one day they're like the size of the whole table, and now they're like in your pocket, right? Sharon, talk a little bit about what you're seeing with drones and those tech trends.
Well, drone is impacting just about every industry. If I asked everyone in here to think of an industry that drones could be used in, it's probably already happening. Drones are impacting businesses, their operational processes, they're saving lives because you can utilize a drone not only to just send, to do an inspection high up on a tower, but you can do it before you need to send a human up on the top of a tower. But for many of you here in this room, drones are helping to save money because there's hardly a movie or news broadcasters not utilizing drones today. The cost savings from doing it in the old days with the person hanging out of a helicopter or open door helicopter or even an airplane, that this dramatically reduces the cost. And here coming in, I walked the floor yesterday. First thing I did was seek out those companies that has a drone. And one of the top drones in cinematography is Sony, who's one of our corporate partners in full disclosure. But I had to go over there and just see what the new contraption is, like I like to call, what they have in terms of the payloads and the capabilities that are going on. So it was fabulous.
Oh, I love that. Are you seeing drones being used in different ways because of the technology, like because of the size and weight, and just are there more purposes for them now?
Oh my God, like I said, literally everybody in this room could identify one without it being repeated. That's how often and how frequently drones are being used in various industries. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, we'll have to keep a lookout.
Yeah, I mean, even in cinematography, when you think about just the angle of shots and having to redo a shot, as well as just the height, getting that same shot at different heights so that when you're in post-production, being able to put that picture together and just want it just a little bit different, or if you had to recreate it, just the ability to use a drone just lessens your cost for that.
And as even tech, do you think there are other ways that people are, policing them not being in this space? Have you seen anything?
Well, you have to utilize them for commercial purposes. You have to have an FAA certification, just like a pilot for a manned aircraft. And so there are requirements and rules because when you're flying a drone, you're flying in the national airspace. So you just can't, you should not go to a local store, buy a drone, and come home and put it in the air. There are rules and requirements that you are required. I encourage you to go out to the FAA website and just Google it, and it will come up.
Cool, that's a great tip because I know we all want one. Or 2 or 3, why not?
Yeah.
Thank you. And Margaret, your company is based, the technology of how it works is mind-blowing, that you can deliver the opportunity to send files through the air, right? Tell me more about how technology is driving what you're doing.
Yeah, so our technology is wildly complex when you dig into the details. And it is being impacted by all of these trends of machine learning and artificial intelligence and cloud and all of those things. But something that our company is focused on, and I'm particularly interested in these days, is actually more about the user experience. And that's one of the special things about media is there's still people creating our media and people who need to touch this technology. And making it accessible and usable by people is its own art and science. So that's something that we're really investing in our user experience team and making sure that we really understand who the users are at various points as how our technology touches. So I'd encourage everybody as you're going around the NAB show, never be intimidated by the complexity of the technology. Just ask somebody how people use it. And that's always a good test.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, really specifically, when you think of your customers, how have you changed their lives with what you offer them? How has it changed their workflows? What has it provided them?
Yeah, so really we're trying to make the technical part of moving a file or automating a process or finding a file, we're trying to make it seamless to them. So really, we win if they don't have to think about how the technology works. But they're using some other creative tool set, or they're just trying to get some media out the door. And the good thing is if they can just have a very organic, almost consumer-like experience, and not really have to understand what's under the covers.
Ah, so you make it look easy. We all know what that feels like, but it's an iceberg underneath, right? Cool. Thanks for explaining that. It's hard to really understand sometimes all the technology we can't actually see because there's so much behind the scenes. And Amanda, how about you? What do you think about what you're doing at the radio station? Are you seeing? I think a lot of people are familiar with how the TV station and radio stations are working, but are you seeing tech really change or drive any areas of that business?
Absolutely. We know that content is king, and I can appreciate what you're doing to make the user experience seamless. It's super important. How many of you are using Chat GPT? Raise your hand. If you're not using it, I totally encourage you to at least look into it. That's one of the software systems that we're using. It just helps you research faster, connect faster. You might have something to say about this that I don't know if you're with it or you're not, because there's mixed emotions about actually what it offers, right? Or the security behind it and all of those things. So do your research before you use it. But however, one of the things is ChatGPT, using that system, not being afraid to embrace new technology, because even with that, a lot of people are like, well, what if it replaces a live person? It's how you use it. You know, it's what you can gain from it. So I definitely encourage you all to do your research there. Also, just as simple as Google, all of the features that Google has to offer. Now that I'm in leadership, I'm utilizing the drives, the spreadsheets, every tool that it has to offer, because I want just communicating with my team to be seamless. Oftentimes, as we're evolving and getting into these new positions, communication is king. So I'm utilizing the technology with Google, with ChatGPT, anything that I know that is trending. I do my research first Mid-Journey, where you can create your content, photos, based on just what you say. And I could say, create a Black woman who runs a radio station who has pizza behind her. Mid-Journey will create a picture that looks like that. So I'm embracing technology. We're embracing technology with our radio station, doing our research, making it seamless for the user, and also, again, for my team that we are building, and it's been helpful for us overall.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm writing down, making a checklist in my head of things to learn a lot more about. All this AI is so, it's a little bit daunting because it's like we don't know what it does, but then you explain how a photo is created out of thin air and you're like, I need that. I definitely think the technology has, the speed of technology feels like it's sped up more over this pandemic time. The thought of doing Zoom calls was not even in our brains 3 years ago, right? And then suddenly we're using it every day. And the globalization, to be able to talk to people from all over the world the world just feels so much smaller, yeah? I wanted to ask everybody a little bit about the international side of what you do. I know, Darlie, you're literally in countries around the world. Maybe you want to start and just talk a little bit about, have you seen other things changed post-pandemic? Are there, is it exactly the same thing that you left, or how has the world changed for what you're doing for your business?
So it's definitely changed. I mean, I've done a lot in Asia over the years, and it's been slower to open up. And still, I'm staying a lot more domestically now. But I think it's interesting for people just to continue to connect. I love the Zoom. I mean, I'm zoomed out, I have to say, because I do 20 million Zooms every day, and I feel like it's draining. But I really think it's great because that has changed people going to meetings. There's nothing that beats an in-person meeting. But Zoom is super efficient, and I'm really behind it. So I think it's a great way to connect with people all over the world. And I love the live streaming. I mean, I started live streaming a lot during the pandemic because I couldn't travel to film my show. And I think it's such a wonderful way for people to connect. And I look forward to seeing more of that. And if you have an organization where you can do something public facing or even privately within the people you want to network with, I think live streaming is such an awesome tool. And it's another thing of, again, not being afraid to do it. And I've been interested to see which partners I work with that haven't been afraid. Like, I've gone to France and worked with France Tourism and Government, and we've done like live streams, and they jump right into it, and anything can happen on a live stream. So that's like, we were walking through the streets of Bordeaux on a live stream that people were watching, tons of people were watching, and I was like, you just don't know what's gonna happen, but it's kind of neat. I think people are more willing to take a risk. I think following the pandemic, people are more willing to take a risk on certain things, especially technology. So I think it's really exciting, but I encourage everyone to look into the live streaming too.
Cool. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of people Zooming for your job, you can now interview people from all over the world in advance, right? I'd love to start having folks get ready to ask questions, because we definitely want to give you a chance to speak what you're thinking. And next I want to ask Sharon, I know your company is worldwide. Anything you want to share about the globalization that's happening?
Sure. What we've seen actually post-pandemic is the growth has continued, and it didn't really slow us down. It actually brought the community, made the world that much smaller because people needed to connect. When I think back to 2017 when I started my company, I was starting to hear from women that thought that they were the only female pilots in their entire country. Now we've gone to the point that we have a chapter across the continent of Africa, and that's because of the 50-some-odd countries in Africa on the continent. About half of them have really embraced drone technology and have started putting the requirements and actively engage in the utilization of drones in various businesses. But we're starting to see that more in India and Australia and Singapore and the European Union. So we're seeing that active growth, but this is new technology from an aviation standpoint. And one of the things that you may or may not have heard of is, you've heard of the Jetsons? Everybody in here kind of, sort of? I mean, some audiences I speak to, they're not quite sure if the Jetsons or the Flintstones, they get them confused. But, so that's probably the easiest way to explain it, is passenger drones or cargo drones. So think about small drones that are carrying people. When France won the Olympics several years ago, which is the Summer Games for next year, one of the things that they proposed was that they were going to have a passenger drone corridor within the Olympic Village. If you Google that, you'll find out that they are on track to deliver that. We're all very excited about it because that's just the beginning of what's really possible. The Los Angeles Olympics, when they come here to the States later this decade, same thing. They're working on that. So the technology has just continued to grow, and actually during the pandemic has actually helped us to kind of work more intensely on some of those type of projects.
Yeah, and look at your community. That's so great that you can enlighten people who think they're alone. It's like, oh, I have other people? Awesome. So that's very cool. And Margaret, I also wanted to know, since your business literally is connecting people, tell us more about what you're seeing post-pandemic.
Yeah, so our business has always been global, and we see it continue to grow. I think the pandemic did help open up, since the media industry is intrinsically global. There's work that can be done everywhere, and as the tools have evolved, that has just made it easier and easier to spread that work around the world. So one of the things that I particularly noticed during the pandemic that is positive is that the tools like Zoom did help us kind of intentionally democratize the voices in our meetings and calls internally and also with customers. that it used to be that sometimes people who were more introverted or less comfortable with the language or those kinds of things would kind of, they could lurk off in the background of a conference call and you'd sort of forget they were there. But if you're running a meeting with a bunch of Zoom squares, then you can be very intentional about saying, I need to make sure that all of these voices are given equal weight and manage the meeting in a way that is very democratic. So that's been a positive thing for us.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you can't really hide in Zoom, but hopefully you have the camera on. I don't know if the microphones are going around. Did we have any questions?
This is a question for Sharon about drones. I've always wanted to go see a drone. You know how they have lighting on the drones and they fly according to a computer program and they make designs in the sky? I'd really love to see that in person. Do you know where that happens?
Where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Because I can say I know in Las Vegas I've seen several. So there are companies literally around the country that are putting on these drone light shows. So if you may not know what she's talking about is, usually the Super Bowl is probably the best example. You've seen them utilize drones, but more cities are starting to incorporate drones for replacement of fireworks also. But especially in Los Angeles, I can't imagine that there isn't. If not, reach out and be happy to connect you with someone. But it's becoming more and more common. In fact, one of the ladies that we recognized 2 years ago from Singapore, her company has just landed contracts here in the United States called Sky Magic, and now they're putting on shows here in the United States. But there are several around the country. And in fact, there's a company out of Michigan that all 4 of their leading pilots for their drone light shows are female.
Hello, hi, my name is Maria. We all work for an organization and we pour all of our skills, our energy towards whatever day-to-day job is. But at one point, we want to do our thing and we want to kind of like start that entrepreneurial or like leave that legacy for other generations. And maybe a lot of people identify right now that it's like, we don't know what are those next steps or what kind of advice do you have for us to kind of take that leap, take the risk, and then because that organization might never ever gonna stay there forever, or sometimes it's like there's no more opportunities to growth there. And yes, like it's a secure job, but there's so much passion, so much drive, so much energy, and now platforms are unlimited. Like online is available to everybody. So whatever advice you can give to people having the same thoughts as me, that would be amazing.
Question about you're looking at what it's like to be an entrepreneur, to potentially start your own business and not work for a company?
Yes.
Okay.
In the media, in entertainment, in messaging, storytelling, that would be kind of like what we all are aspiring to.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from Darlie, and I also think Amanda has, her example. Do you want to start, Amanda, and then Darlie will talk?
I will say research, research, research. Most times when you're nervous about something is because you haven't prepared a plan for it. And I don't mean that in any mean way or anything like that. And when I say research, it doesn't mean get all of these books from the library and stack them on top of a table. What I'm saying is just find out more about what this thing is, what it is that you want to do, whatever that is. And also remember too that there are thousands of McDonald's. And it didn't stop one person from opening another franchise. So oftentimes we get in our own brains and we're like, well, so-and-so is doing it. That means that I can't. And it's the complete opposite. You are unique to who you are. So my suggestion for anyone who's wanting to start their own business or anyone who's stepping into media, to please do a little bit of research. Find something, some niche market, something about what it is you love. Do a little research about that and follow through. Get out of your brain. Get out of your head. Because we are our own worst enemy sometimes. I would say that too. I know I'm speaking to me.
No, but I love
anybody else. I know, Sharon, y'all been in the game, and just the game period, longer than me. But for sure, I'm in my head, and I have to get out of my head and talk to myself. Do y'all do that too? Maybe it's just me in here. Am I talking to me alone? Does anyone else talk to themselves? To encourage themselves and to motivate yourself to do the research, because we'll have the idea in mind and it'll sit there and won't go past that. I also would encourage putting pen to paper. When you write stuff down, something in your system that allows you to have the motivation to actually do it. So I'd also say too, you're not on an island, do some research, put pen to paper, find a way to get out of your head, look to people for encouragement who have done this before, and really truly listen to what they have to say so you can do your thing and flourish. That's what I would say.
That's amazing advice. I just love how she's created you've created your job by learning new jobs while you're doing your job. So you're like internally an
I
entrepreneur.
learned everything about radio. Whatever that was,
You taught yourself.
however it was to do it, the next step to it, I learned that on purpose.
Totally. And here, Darlie has started her own business. And did you ever have to quit your day job? Did you have a transition point?
Yeah, so, and I agree the research and trying to get in, and I learned everything about making a TV show, making video content. I learned how to do camera work, editing, writing, all the financing behind it, the accounting. But I think getting in and if you can get a job or hang out with someone who's doing what you want to do, or even if it's like one aspect of it, I think that's key to really understanding it really well. And then I did, I had a full-time job. I did PR actually while I was starting I was working in television, and then I went freelance, and then I worked in PR while I started my own business. And so I worked like all the time, which I still do today. I don't know what's going on. But I think it gave me this security, because one day I was like, I'm done with this PR gig, and I'm gonna now, like, I'm doing this full time. And I didn't look back, and I don't know if I would ever go work for someone else now, because I feel that I'll always just come up with projects and figure out how to find money, because that's my specialty.
It's an important skill.
So, you know what though? And well, like Amanda's saying, with whatever idea you have, you can do something that someone else is doing. It's your spin on it. There's a lot of people doing the same things out there, and it's because they're successful things. And so it's really about, like, what do you have to bring to the table? What is your unique take, or what do you have that's special or interesting? And I encourage people to look back at their childhood and think about things you liked as a child and the things that made you different. And things that people said were different about you, those can be assets, even if they were things that people called a disability or a thing that wasn't seen as a positive. It actually can be a positive. So take it and run with it.
I'd like to just add on to what Darlie just offered up, is to identify what problem are you solving and how big is that potential audience. And then the second thing is surround yourself with, if for lack of a better term, a kitchen cabinet. People that can give you input. Because if you think starting a business is hard, scaling a business is hard.
It's even harder.
It's very hard. And so what you want is you want people that can give you input, that don't tell you what you think, they think what you want to hear. They're going to tell you the hard points of what you need to address, because that's when you're really going to need to scale.
Ooh, yes, good point. You have to really think through the tough questions. Thank you guys. That was really great advice. Does anyone else have any questions for this group? Oh, here we are. One more.
I would like to, first of all, thank each one of you for being here today. I've been so excited about this event, you don't even know. Okay, so my question is, what kind of tech resources that are gals friendly do you know of if someone wants to do a startup for an app or something that is solving a problem? I've always said, if I want to do my get-rich-quick scheme, I have to find a problem and then get that solution. And so if someone in the audience, including myself, has got an idea, where do we go to look? Because, of course, you go to Google, but you don't know what to search for, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Today, we're mostly 2 or 3 degrees separation from someone that's probably doing that. And so start with something as simple as a LinkedIn profile. Find someone that is doing that well and appears to be successful, and then see who may be in your network that's 2 or 3 degrees. I mean, just today, I don't know how many people you knew before you came in the room, but this is at least 100 plus people that you can add to your network. Someone here knows someone that can at least make a reference or a recommendation for you to talk to start. But it's usually 2 to 3 degrees of separation. And most people are willing to help to a point, And so have your 2 or 3 questions to our speaker earlier. What are the questions that if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes with someone, what are those 2 or 3 questions? And then you ask someone else and get 2 or 3 questions, and you start to kind of build your Rolodex or your portfolio of information that you need for decision making.
I would like to also add to that if I could. Remember I told you I have many mentors, right? One of my mentors, Juanita Rasmus, that's her name. If y'all look her up, you'd be glad you did. But she always asks, what would you love? I think when you're trying to decide what kind of business you want to do or what kind of new endeavor you want to be a part of, you will enjoy doing what you're doing when you love doing it. Someone was saying that they wanted to start a nonprofit. Where's that lady at? I don't know where she is, but she's in here. She was in the back somewhere. But at any rate, is it you? It's you. Okay. But I find that doing what you love to do and asking yourself that first will open the doors to the idea of what that endeavor, that business is. You want to start a nonprofit? Then go do things with people that you like doing things with, or supporting things that you like supporting. You want to be in media? Then go volunteer at a radio station. You want to learn about drones? Get with Women in Drones. You want to learn about technology and ease with user-friendly? Then get right here with Margaret. I mean, first of all, we're all here to help each other. That's what this environment is. But first ask yourself, what would I love? Has anyone asked themselves that today? No one? But you signed up to be here. You did. I know you asked yourself because you signed up to come here. So you ask yourself, what would I love? You love to be in a room full of people who are encouraging, thoughtful, and inviting. And guess what's happening? What are you in a room full of? People who are encouraging, thoughtful, and inviting. So I would ask myself that first. What would I love to do? And then I would do that. And the money will come.
That's great advice for just what guides you, right? I want to also just put a little spin on your question, because I was thinking, Margaret, when working at Signiant, having the idea of like how do you actually chase a new feature, or why are we going to put time and money into this tool? Is there any thing? Is it what you love? Like how do you guide what things you can move forward with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never actually started a company, so I'm just in awe to be around all of these women who have. But there is an analogy of all day, every day, we're figuring out how to prioritize what we do for our customers. And one of the things I find most interesting about that is just that sometimes we can help the customer most by saying no to them. So we always really endeavor to not ask them what features they want, but rather to ask them what problem they're trying to solve. And a lot of times if you can get them into that space, and it's a little bit like, what do you love? It's, what do you hate? What problems are you facing? And then let us come up with the solutions.
And that's also smart, like the know your lane. Like we're not going to do all of those things. This is what we do. We're going to focus on that. We're going to do it really well and solve your problem. Cool. I love that advice. Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions in the audience?
Yes, we have
This is such a great combo to understand. And I hope everybody is writing these notes down. Lots of life lessons here.
Hi.
There you are.
I'm Yolanda Starks-White with Yossi Media. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Amy. This is just so wonderful. So I have a company with Yossi Media, HBCU Bridge, where we connect companies with students from HBCUs. And what I wanted to know particularly, Sharon, does your company have a program where they might work with HBCUs? Because there is a big, big need. We understand that drone is the future and the future is now. And unfortunately, a lot of HBCUs don't have the resources that other universities might. So I was wondering, does your company possibly have programs where we can connect with students who could be exposed to this wonderful opportunity? Thank you.
Someone on my team contact you and ask you to ask that question. We're actually working with universities this year to have summer interns. In fact, Prairie View A&M, we're going to have one that a young lady is majoring in criminology, and they actually contacted us because they want her to have a internship in her field of study, which is criminology/public safety. So you're going to go, what's that got to do with drones? Well, that is a growing field, is the use of drones within public safety. Police and fire departments are actively across the country and around the world are utilizing drones. And so they contacted us. And actually one of our advisors is at works in public safety at Harris Stowe, which is an HBCU. And so she's actually going to be the lead advisor for this young lady, and her project for the summer is working with police departments in Texas and utilization of drones. So to answer your question, absolutely. We've got another university out of Florida, Florida International, which is not an HBCU, but it's HBCU leaning or black and brown leaning in terms of the majority of their student body, and we're working with them in their engineering program.
Good question. I'd like to take one more question, and then I have one more for you. So hopefully, or if there's not, I get it. I win.
Oh, yes, we
Take
have
one
three
more.
questions. Okay.
Hi, I have a question about confidence. And I wanted to ask you guys, because I think all of us here, we understand our capabilities. For me, myself, I know that I can advocate for everyone else around me, except it's difficult for me to advocate for myself, which is why I wanted to do the negotiation thing. But for you guys, anytime there are setbacks, what do you guys tell yourself so that you're not in your head and you can continue moving forward? Because there's always going to be something that's going to frustrate us. But what are you telling yourself so that you're not, I guess, losing self-esteem or feeling bogged down or beat down and not give up, if that makes any sense?
That's a great question.
I'd love to go down the line, because I think everyone has a nugget that you've got to write down.
It is hard to talk about yourself, but not really. Even when it comes down to your bio and what you're going to say when you write it. I have this lengthy one that's like so many words. And I got with Amy here to help me shorten it. And I knew all the things that people said I did and how I do and all the things, but it was hard for me to do that. So she helped me with that. So number one was ask for help, like you're doing now. That's appreciated. The next thing I do when I'm in a situation where I feel like, well, they just gave it to me because of whatever. Or am I really good at this? Or whatever it is. Because imposter syndrome is a real thing too. And it's like you're caught between the truth and the lie of sort. So what I've been able to do is the deep breath technique does work, right? I do take a few deep breaths. I sit back and I look at my accomplishments. You have to really look at what you have done, what award you might have received, what was the last compliment you might have gotten, what was the last thing that you felt good about. And I remember those things, and I literally take the next steps, do my research, and I get the job done. And that is the only way that I know that I'm supposed to be where I'm at, because I've done my due diligence. So one of those things is the deep breath techniques, recognizing what I have done that has been successful, and I hone in on that. I praise myself, because if I don't, then who will? And if I'm looking for other people to do it, then I might go into a depression. You can't wait for somebody else to do something that you need to do for yourself. So that was some of those things that helped me build my confidence, is recognizing where I am today, that I deserve to be where I am, that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm meant for this. So I tell myself that. Margaret.
That's an incredible nugget. Thank you. How about you, Margaret?
So here's my little cheat tip here. Just take a look at the colors that we're all wearing here. And look at what Amy's wearing over there. So Amy did not tell us to wear bright colors today. This just happened. And it's a great little cheat for yourself, is just wear bright colors and say, look at me. And then when you're having an interaction that's a little bit intimidating, just think, but I'm wearing a striped jacket and you're not. I'm wearing hot pink and you're not. And just sort of tease yourself into confidence by putting on something bright and standing out.
Oh, I love that. One, I love colors, so I agree with that. But you're right, I didn't even notice that. How coordinated are we? Good tip, good tip.
So my tips are twofold. One is, whenever something happens, the first thing I ask is, okay, God, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? Because there must be a lesson that I need to learn and figure out how to apply it. And I can tell you just one quick example. The week that I was coming into this industry, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I thought, I was excited because my background is in insurance and financial services, so it's something totally different. So I was excited about coming to this industry, and then I said, okay, God, what is this about? What am I supposed to learn? And for those of you that have gone through, or know someone who's gone through that, when you're making those daily drives to the hospital for your radiation treatments, each day was like, okay, I got to get through this radiation treatment so I can come back because I've got to learn about drones. The industry was so new and everything was changing, and despite family and all of that, it like gave me something to drive for and to live for. So I always say, if I can get through that, I can get through anything, but what am I supposed to learn from this no? And that's when I learned, if not now, then later. And then the second thing is, have that circle of girlfriends that you can call and just say, I got a moment, I need some help to get me through this. And girlfriends will get you there. Will get you through life, but get you through that problem. And then they'll pick you up and and say, okay, dust yourself off, get back to it. That's my 2 tips.
Oh, that's touching. And also just the idea of, you've got a community, right? And that is what your business is founded on, and your word of advice is, your girlfriend. So make sure you have somebody you can always call. How about you, Darlie, your tip for confidence?
So I think everyone touched on it, but kind of tricking your brain sometimes is a good thing to do. They say if you actually laugh out loud, you actually do feel happier. Oh my goodness. So it'll make you feel better. So I think just if you're in that rut, you just have to change it up. So take a walk, get outside, do something different. I say every day, like, I like to go to bed at night. This sounds crazy, but I think about what I'm gonna eat the next day. And it makes me happy. And I'm like, even if it's one little thing, you're like, I'm gonna treat myself to this or that. And like, you'll feel better if you feel better because you've done something that made you feel better. So laughing, getting outside, and then just giving yourself a little treat. And just remembering again, I think the biggest thing is that we're all, and I don't think people always think about this, but we're all on this planet for such a short amount of time. So don't waste your time. So if you start to feel badly, you kind of have to trick your brain again and say, like, I'm not going to let my time get wasted on this negative energy. It's a waste. So I'm going to feel better, and you will start to feel better if you just have to trick your mind, change your mindset. It's hard to do, but if you start practicing it, it gets easier. We all go through our down times, but then we have to remember too how good we felt when it was good and get back to that spot.
And check your environment. I know you mentioned about being around, getting your girlfriends together and things like that, but check you and check your environment, because you don't realize how when you have people around you who might be saying or doing things that just does not align with who you are or where you want to go, you have to immediately remove yourself from that, because it will come up on you if you let it. So I would say too about confidence is to think about really look with your eyeballs, look and see who is around me right now that is giving me something that I didn't ask for and that I don't want, and remove yourself immediately if it doesn't align. But that's
that was the best last question. I mean, I could be happy here just ending it there with the big, I feel so uplifted to hear all this advice. We're gonna laugh, ha 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 ha. We're gonna wear bright colors. We're gonna believe in ourselves, no imposter syndrome. And we're gonna have our friends and our community with us there, right? Now I wanna end with just one actual practical question, because we are here at the world famous NAB show. It's the 100th year anniversary. So practical tip, just since we're all here, can we run down the line and say something that inspired you or something you found interesting? Where should we go with those the last day of our conference? What do we have to see while we're here?
Darlie.
Start with me? Oh my. What do I think we should see? Oh my gosh, now I'm in the hot seat. I think you have to be here. That's really what you have to see, is everything. If you haven't been to all the halls, okay, you have to see the Tesla loop because it's so fun just to ride. Did you know there's a way to shortcut from the West Hall to the Central Hall? It's your own private Tesla. And some of the cars do that, and some of the cars have a see-through. Okay, you got to see the Tesla loop. But actually at the show, I've been speaking at the, what is it called? Future Media Concepts. They have multiple conferences, like this is the Women's Leadership Conference. There's also a virtual storytelling conference and a post-production world conference. So there are a lot of sub-conferences that you can find your people, just like you have today. So I would say not just come for the show floor, but also spend a little time investing in yourself with some education and community.
Thank
about
you
you,
for going
Darlie?
first.
What's that?
Thank you for going first. I think I got my.
I was like, there's so many things. What do we say? How about you, Darlie? What's the thing you got to see while you're here?
Well, so I travel a lot, and my big recommendation when you're traveling is even if you have a plan, sometimes just get lost a little bit. And I think this is a great show to get lost. And you'll, like, I loved playing with the Pocket DJI the Pocket thing. They were, because I had the old version, I had the new version. Like, I want the new version. But I think just walking around and getting lost is a great thing to do. This technology here is amazing, and you will get inspired, and your creativity will get moving if you just kind of roam around a little bit. So I encourage you to kind of just do some roaming and take the Tesla loop because that was fun. Go to my Instagram and you can see the reel.
Well, being the drone geek that I am, of course, I'm going to ask you consider going by the Sony booth and talking with them to find out about how their drones are being used in cinematography and television programs. And just keep in mind that drones are a flying robot, and it's not about the drone, it's about the camera, or the payload is what we call it in the industry. So find your favorite camera, find out whether or not you can fly it on that Sony drone or whatever your favorite drone is, and have a good time. I agree. Try that, the Tesla loop is pretty cool.
So I'm really busy at these shows meeting with customers and partners. So the only things I've seen here are where my booth is and the nearest ladies' room. So I will just end by inviting all of you, if you want to come to an interesting, welcoming booth, come see us at Signiant, which is right behind AWS downstairs.
I love it.
I would say all of the mixers. Here at the NAB, there are a lot of different mixers where you can meet industry leaders, and maybe you can learn something about things that you didn't know you even needed to know. All of the mixers are good here at NAB. Also, the Adobe station. I did the Adobe Premiere Pro. It's on the North Hall, I want to say. And they have, it's interactive. They'll answer any of the questions that you have about the new features that Adobe Premiere Pro offers. I'm specific to that one because that's the area I really had more interest. I love being over there. So the Adobe one is one, and then all of the mixes, any of the NAB mixers. If you go on the app, it'll share with you the time of when all of these things are happening on site. So I would encourage you to download the app and then go to any of the mixes that are here.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. What great ideas. I want to invite Amy back to the stage because I want to hear her tip on what to see while we're here at NAB Show 100. And thank you, everybody, for what a wonderful panel today. I've had so many good vibes. Thank you, everybody.
Can I have the mic? Thank you. Well, I have two recommendations. One is completely self-serving, and the other is self-serving for Gals and Gear. So for Gals and Gear, I would say go visit every one of our sponsors' booths. So you mentioned Adobe, which I'm super excited about text-based editing because I've been around the industry long enough that as a producer, I always did my paper edits, and then I was using transcriptives and Premiere's audio description stuff, but now it's going to be so much easier because I can just basically do my own rough cuts, so that's exciting. And obviously Signiant's booth and Quilt, which is over at Cisco's booth, and of course Dell and NVIDIA, who are our lead sponsors, and Blackmagic. So definitely pay them all a visit because they're awesome booths and they have really cool stuff. And then the self-serving tip, I would say, if you can catch one of the plenaries, there's still a few left. There's usually a plenary every session every day in North Hall. They built, like, I don't know if you've been there, but if you go to North Hall downstairs in the back of the hall, they actually built an auditorium inside North Hall for plenary sessions. And the opener of the plenary is something that my company created. It's 100 years of NAB show in 245 seconds. Danilda from my team in the back, raise your hand, Danilda was part of the production team. As were many other women, including Cheryl Ottenritter, who's a fabulous sound mixer who did all the sound design and sound mixing. And so I just would encourage you to see that because it's extremely cool. And we analyzed, scanned, archived, meta-tagged, I think 4,553 archival assets from the University of Maryland Broadcast Archives, and went through about 400 hours of audio clips from interviews, historic interviews on the show floor to build that. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of my team, I wanted to mention a couple things. Yolanda had already spoken at a question, but if you could just stand up, Yolanda, again, please. Yolanda Starks-White from the HBCU Bridge Program. We are really excited to partner with them. We have students in the room, and I just want to shout them out from Bowie State and Morgan State. If you could wave your hands, Destiny and Lena and Shania and Jaina. They have been working their tails off. We told them how crazy it was here, but they really didn't believe us till they got here, right? And they have been interviewing women across the show floor and asking them questions about tech, the future of tech, the future of careers in the industry. So they are going to leave this show with a lot of great contacts. Plus, they've created incredible content that you're going to be seeing on the Gals and Gear social media channels and the NAB channels. So if you can follow us on Instagram at Gals and Gear, follow us on LinkedIn, you'll see all of their great interviews. So I want to shout them out and thank Yolanda for bringing them here, and she's going to be working with us a lot more. This is what happens with Gals and Gear. Once we rope you in, we don't let you go. So just so you know, Yolanda. Again, thanks to our sponsors, and I'm going to switch over the room. So grab those bags, make sure you make room, because our friends at the Sports Video Group are actually going to join us for lunch. So you're going to meet some new friends. And some guys will come into the room, and they'll be like, what's going on in here? Before we do that, I want to introduce my friend Ken Kirschbaumer. If you could please come up to the stage. Ken Kirschbaumer is the editorial director of SVG, and I just want to thank him very much for being a supporter of our program.
This is great. You know, at SVG, we have a women's group in Australia, we have a women's group in Europe, we have a women's group here in the US, and we did launch the HBCU Bridge program with Yolanda and her team. And I just want to say, it's been so great the last year developing this relationship with you, because I think a lot of good things we can do together. Everyone in here in this room obviously can affect change and create change. Our goal at SVG is to kind of continue to get more women into the industry, the sports production industry, more people of color into the sports production industry. So, you know, anybody here who has an idea or wants to get involved, whether it's mentoring or what have you, please just reach out to Amy or myself or Yolanda, and we would love to get you kind of engaged with us, because the more people working on it, the more change we can do. So, and stick around for lunch. We have about another 40 people coming in, so it should be fun.
Oh, and we're going to come all up to the front. We're going to take a big group picture.